true champion, and we'll see who will be crowned that in just a few weeks. But tonight, Indiana and Notre Dame face off. Tomorrow, a triple header in college football. SMU, Penn State, Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State. Cold weather conditions, home field advantage as we get it. And also, sprinkling into the fun tomorrow, it's the National Football League, which is the Houston Texans traveling to take on Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, followed by a 4:30 barn burner, one of the best games you will probably find, series, I should say, and rivalries over the past 20 years. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens with so much on the line. A fantastic football weekend. It's a football Friday right here on the SportsGrid Network, and I am excited to absolutely get through it all and get you guys prepared. But before we do that, here's what we have. Here's what we get angry about. The last 2 Sundays for me with a full NFL card have been sensational. So good that even this past Sunday, every wager I placed won. We did out 4 tickets. They all won. Had 3 other tickets myself. They all won. Monday got tripped up a little bit, lost a little bit back. No big deal. But yesterday was a game, as if you guys heard this radio program, the early line, or any time I appeared on the network yesterday or this week. I wasn't all that excited for that game to be played last night from a prop perspective. You knew how much it meant. And right now, you take a look at the Chargers in the absolute driver's seat in the AFC to make the playoffs. Fantastic. Denver's still looking good, but they got a little bit of work to do over the next couple weeks. So I said, let me go over the numbers and see exactly what I like in this game. So I said to myself, there's no way that I was going to touch a running back in this game because beforehand, I had no idea who the lead backs would be. And just to give you an idea, you had 4 different ball carriers for the Denver Broncos in the first quarter alone. When the dust settled, if you picked Audric Estime, congratulations. 9 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown, going over all of his numbers and scoring. That's exactly what you wanted. Los Angeles, however, you thought the lead dog probably would be Gus Edwards, but you weren't sure. And quite frankly, if you're betting the any touchdown market, he cashed in pretty well. He actually scored 2 touchdowns. But up until his late 43-yard run, he didn't do a damn thing in that game. Neither really did Kamani Vidal or Darius Davis. Herbert actually had 8 carries for 28 yards, which is hilarious because he was well over 45 until those final 3 snaps of the football game. But I wasn't focused on the running backs. And I said, you know what? 2 good defenses out there, top 5 in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. I said, no, there might be a chance that you get points, but I like the under. I thought the under 41.5 made sense here. They blew that out, 34-27 final. But again, I didn't put any money on that. So you know what? I think that's the way to go. But my eye line doesn't really match up a lot of times with over-unders on a game itself. It's very rarely that you see me tweet a ticket, hey, I love the over in this game, or I love the over, here's my bet. But I thought the quarterbacks would have some success. One bet I fiddled with was Bo Nix over 33.5 passing attempts. He cleared that with 40 because they were down in the second half, had to come back and try to get back into it. He finishes with 263, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Great night. And if you're betting over 1.5 touchdowns for Bo Nix, you cash that ticket at a plus money number. Justin Herbert, same thing. Didn't need a lot of passing attempts, only 31, but completed 23 of those for 284, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So both of these guys' passer ratings are around a 110. And once again, if you had the over 1.5 touchdown passes, you cash that with Justin Herbert. But I was really looking for the yards end of it. I said, nah, you know what? I don't want to complicate things. I don't want to bet all that much today because I really didn't like the game per se. So I said, okay, let's look at the wide receiving room and look at some of the numbers at the top end of the spectrum. Cortland Sutton was in the 60s, let's just say 64, 65, somewhere in that range. Ladd McConkey also in the high 60s. Ladd McConkey cleared that at 6 for 87. I was never going to bet Ladd McConkey. So you know what? That number's up there. Maybe Denver 6 in on him and maybe get a lower scoring game. I don't want to really say he's got to get 70 yards to cash me a ticket. On the opposite side, I'd say, no, Cortland Sutton would probably do well, but I didn't really want to take his number. 5 for 50, he finishes under his posted number. But the ticket I had yesterday, which, again, Quentin Johnston. Sometimes you just have to go with the numbers. He failed me a couple weeks ago, but I won money with him 2 weeks later. I said, you know what? If we're the focal point of that offense going to be to stop Ladd McConkey, who, by the way, had 6 targets, but caught all 6 for 87 yards. Quentin Johnston was second on the team, tied with Josh Palmer, Ladd McConkey, and then obviously Quentin Johnston. 6 targets apiece. Well, McConkey caught his 6 targets for 87 yards. Joshua Palmer caught 3 of his 6 targets for 41. And here I am holding a bag with Quentin Johnston, over 35.5 receiving yards at a minus 125 price. He has 18. But here was the kicker. Like, I know when I put, I said, you know what, let's ride with this and we'll bet some things in game. So before the game, I'm like, you know what? I really like this one wager. I'm not even going to put it out. It was a 2-team handicap. So it wasn't a 3-team same-game parlay per se. Just a 2-team, or 2-leg, I should say, same-game parlay. It was Cortland Sutton to catch 4 passes. He got 6 targets, caught 5 for 50 yards. That clears. The other one was Quentin Johnston to have 20 or more receiving yards in that game. He finished with 18. You say, oh, that's tough. No, you know what made it even tougher? You saw that last drive where they actually ended up scoring, had a touchdown pass. A simple 5-yard turnaround route that hit Quentin Johnston right in the numbers as he didn't look the football in, and it doinked right off his chest and onto the ground. That was a massive swing for me last night. And also keep in mind, at the half, I said, you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun. These numbers are really high. Justin Herbert hasn't thrown a touchdown. And I said, I want to take Ladd McConkey out of the equation. Give me 2 other players that are probably going to get some red zone targets if they get in the red zone and threw a touchdown pass. So let me go Josh Palmer, who's like plus 480 at the half, and also Quentin Johnston, who was plus like 490 at the half. One of them was 480, one of them was 490. So I said, let me just put a couple of those out. Didn't send them out on Twitter. Said, I just want that in my personal shot here. So let alone the second half of that football game, Justin Herbert threw 2 touchdown passes. Neither, and if you said to me before the game or at the half, he's going to throw 2, talking about Justin Herbert, and Ladd McConkey isn't going to catch any of those, I would have said, oh my goodness. I know we're probably getting 1. We might even have 2 players cash those tickets, which would have been a wonderful night. Let alone saying Hassan Haskins catch a shovel pass, broken down play where he went in for 34 yards. He finished with 39 yards, which would have cashed my ticket on Quentin Johnston. Also, Darius Davis, 2 catches, 31 yards on 2 targets and a touchdown. That's how my night went yesterday. That's how it was. So I am angry, but I know there are more games on the horizon this weekend. A complete schedule on Sunday, which we will hit today. Say, you know what? Where are we leaning towards? Where are we going to? Because Sundays are usually spectacular. I don't know what it is with these primetime games where you had a 34-27 final, and I didn't make money again. It's wild sometimes how these things turn out. It's just the way it is. Primetime football, Thursday sometimes can be quirky, and it was last night. Quirky for me because I didn't win any money. But let's settle in. Let's take a look at these college football games. Let's take a look at NFL Sunday and NFL Saturday up next. Yeah, it's your boy Donnie Rightside. We're having fun on a Friday right here on Moneyline.
We're the club you want to join, even though we'd have you as a member.
You'll like it here. We have munchies.
And the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The International Brotherhood of Teamsters said workers at 7 Amazon facilities will begin a strike this morning, an effort by the union to pressure the e-commerce company for a labor agreement during a key shopping period. The Teamsters say the workers who authorized strikes in the past few days are joining the picket line after Amazon ignored a December 15th deadline the union set for contract negotiations. Amazon says it doesn't expect an impact on its operations during what the union calls the largest strike against the company in U.S. history. On Wednesday, the Justice Department unsealed a civil complaint alleging CVS Pharmacy and various subsidiaries filled unlawful prescriptions in violation of the Federal Controlled Substances Act. The complaint also says CVS sought reimbursements from federal health care programs for such prescriptions in violations of the False Claims Act. A representative of CVS says the company has cooperated with the DOJ's investigation for more than 4 years and strongly disagrees with the allegations and what it called the false narrative within the complaint. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
This year, American farmers will harvest 2.8 billion bushels of wheat and 15.1 billion bushels of corn. And to this day, American road workers have built 4.2 million miles of roads and counting. We're proud that John Deere machines rolling off the line here in the USA play a part in supporting Americans who work the land and build a better tomorrow. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/manufacturing.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
You've heard of smart bombs,
Smartphones, smart cars, smart watches, and smart glasses.
now you can add smart player.
Giving you sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah, man. So we back in the club with the
Let's get fired up, people. It's a Football Friday right here on the Sports Grid Network. Your boy DRS, the chat box is pumping out here. Awesome vibes out here. You know the usual suspects out there. My guy Chris Warren, Vic Ferrari's out here today. Eron Schoen is out here today. Love the stuff. Sharing the information back and forth. Having a great time. That's how you do it. You say, wait a second. What do you mean the chat box is out there, DRS? Well, where'd you get that at? Sports Grid on demand on YouTube. You can watch all of our radio programming right there live. Reach out to those. Have some fun. Share the information. It's what we do. Obviously, you know you're listening most of the time on SiriusXM Radio, channel 159. Sports Grid, it's how we do it all throughout the day, 24/7, rocking and rolling. If you do say, you know what, Don, I got a smartphone. How can I pick up the fun and do all this stuff? Anywhere apps are available, go download the Sports Grid app. It is fantastic. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of video. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting and informational needs. And then, of course, SportsGridRadio.com and SportsGrid.com. Look at how many options we have to get the information out to the people and doing it with style. But I need to see some action this weekend, and boy, do we have it. We're going to get to the college football card, which does start tonight. Great football game. It should be, by the way. The Battle of Indiana, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and the Indiana Hoosiers to start off the very first playoff game, or expanded playoff game, in college football history. Love to see it. We'll get to it in just a few moments. But tomorrow, boy, am I intrigued. I absolutely am intrigued. Houston's going to take on Kansas City, 1 o'clock kickoff, 4:30 p.m. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. If we're looking at weather conditions in both of those games tomorrow, crispy conditions. Kansas City, clear, 30 degrees at kickoff, no precipitation in the forecast, wind speeds around 5 miles an hour. Love to see it. Chef's kiss. By the end of the game, it does get heated up, guys. 36, 37 degrees. Ooh, as we get above freezing. Let's go to the charmed city of Baltimore, East Coast style, the black and blue division, the AFC North. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. It's going to go a long way to determining seeding and who's going to win that division by who wins this football game. Kickoff on the East Coast at 4:30 p.m., 32 degrees. By the end of the game, we're dipping into the high 20s. No precipitation in the forecast. Love to see that. Windy conditions, not necessarily around 10 miles per hour. As good as you can get for December. If you like chilly, hard-hitting, bone-cracking football, you got that tomorrow. Now, if we are handicapping that Houston-Kansas City game, let's just get some statistics and numbers out here. So I'm going to log into a couple things because there's handicaps that we have to know. And the major handicap is, what do you guys think you are getting out of Patrick Mahomes tomorrow? High ankle sprain, to what degree? The guy is like, a human hyperbaric chamber, if that makes sense. He just heals instantly. High ankle sprain, no problem. No mispractice, full practice all week. I'm going to play on a short week, and then I'm hoping to play on Christmas Day just a few days later. It's wacky, it's wild, but it is what it is. And it's a handicap that you have to take upon yourself to understand what you think is going to happen. Now, if we're looking at the estimated starting lineup, right? It's not really the case here, but I want to look at the offensive line. If we look at Pro Football Focus, they have it listed as Joe Thuney kicking out to left tackle, which is interesting because Jawan Taylor on the right side, they've had a musical chairs at left and right tackle all season long. They had DJ Humphries for a little bit. He gets injured and not there. So that is an issue with Patrick Mahomes and that ankle. If we do look at Houston, they know he's going to be a wounded duck. Is he strong enough to play the game? yes, they wouldn't let him out there. Do we think he's going to have some success? It's Patrick Mahomes. He always has success out there. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at this point. Also anticipated back in the lineup, Hollywood Brown, their big offseason acquisition to take the top off defenses to help out Sidney Rice and Worthy. Obviously, no, Sidney Rice is down for the season, but Brown steps in. So now you're looking at a little bit more of a formidable passing attack. Travis Kelce, as we said, tight end, Hollywood Brown on one side, DeAndre Hopkins on the other, and Xavier Worthy in the slot to go with a healthy running back game now with Isaiah Pacheco. Things are starting to look in line for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at the numbers in this game, looking at right around 50-50 ticket split here. The line opened up minus 3.5 points. Now, that minus 3.5 probably was readjusted based on what they thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be this weekend, which possibility of not playing. You saw the Houston Texans actually as a 2.5-point favorite. Those have all disappeared the minute Patrick Mahomes had a full practice earlier this week. But we're 3.5s across the board. The total, which opened up at FanDuel here in New Jersey, 44.5. We now sit at 41.5 at FanDuel, but primarily across the board, 42s and 42.5s. Here's where this game is going to get really interesting. Houston does have a decent defense. A little bit leaky on the back end at safety. They're average at best. Not a great linebacking core. They're average. But the two defensive ends can wreck this game plan for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Will Anderson on one side, and on Pro Football Focus, ranked the 9th best defensive end in football out of 117 edge rushers. The other side, it's Danielle Hunter, 14th out of 117 edge pass rushers. You have two guys that can absolutely get after it on the outside. And if you figure Patrick Mahomes is a little bit of a wounded duck in the pocket, number one, Andy Reid is going to make sure that you might be running double tight end sets a lot to make sure you get chips on those defensive ends to give Patrick Mahomes enough maneuverability in the pocket. But you can't always do that. You still have to run your offense. But also understanding this, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid understand what the game plan is going to be this weekend. Patrick Mahomes didn't get his high ankle sprain midway through this game where they had to adjust on the fly. They know his mobility. They're going to know his restrictions once you get to the game. But also keep in mind, his ankle could deteriorate during the game itself. Am I saying he's going to re-injure it? Not necessarily. But anybody out there that's had let's just say, an ankle sprain throughout their life, everybody's sprained their ankles. You ever played a pickup game? It's like, you know what? I know my limitations. I know the way I can go to it, but jump cut the wrong way, stumble the wrong way, go up for a rebound, land a little bit awkward, like, ooh, just gives you that little reminder that ankle is still sore. And by the end of the game, it'll be heavily taped. They have great things that they can put on the ankle. You saw it with Justin Herbert last night that give you a little bit more mobility. But this is going to be the same Patrick Mahomes that we see scrambling around the pocket, extending plays, rolling out, flick of the wrist 30 yards down the field. It's going to be measured in the pocket. So let's take a look at some angles in this game from a prop perspective from Kansas City to see how they're going to match up against this Houston Texans defense. Guys, it's a Football Friday. It's what we do. I'm excited. Awesome weekend ahead of football. SportsGrid Network, we always got you covered. It's your boy DRS, and I'll be right back.
We never stop giving you sports gaming strategies and information 24 hours a day.
7 days a week.
Business hours are for losers.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
In 1980, The Raging Bull is released, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Robert De Niro as boxer Jake LaMotta.
Hey, Ray. Never went down, Ray. You never got me down, Ray.
LaMotta's brawls with Sugar Ray Robinson were legendary, as the two clashed 6 times in the ring, with Sugar Ray taking 5 of the bouts. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the smart house, not a circuit was stirring, not even a mouse. The children were nestled all snug in their beds. Visions of iPhones danced in their heads. Then arose such a clatter of sensors and lights. From the chimney sprang jolly old Saint Nick. He was chubby and plump, dressed in glowing LEDs from his head to his foot. It flashed and sputtered as he brushed off the soot. Suddenly, a bundle of toys and a motorized gizmo gizmo rolled out to a stop. I laughed when I saw this in spite of myself, then a hatch popped open, and a robot arm went straight to its work, filling all the stockings. And laying a finger aside of his nose, giving a nod, his jetpack blazing up the chimney he rose. Away they flew, chased by a live streaming drone that rose from the thistle.
Happy Christmas to all of you.
Follow me, at Chico Palbo on Twitter, and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Football Full Circle.
I'm telling you this right now. Best bet for the weekend could be the over. Kansas City and Houston. I think this game can get into the 50s. Wentz, no Wentz. Mahomes, 80% healthy. I think C.J. Stroud and that offense try to light it up. I lean overall to Houston plus the points. The over's my best bet.
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network.
There, Sporto.
We know you've been hurt in the past. Big stations with big promises lied to you, suckered you in.
We don't do that.
We're the real deal.
You can take our information to the bank. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. And now, back to Moneyline with Kevin Walsh and Donnie Rightside.
All right, folks, let's attack this game from a prop perspective. The game we're talking about, once again, Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs. Here's what's interesting. And just looking at the chat box right now, everybody's sharing a lot of information. Vic Ferrari says pass attempts seem high for a hobbled Mahomes at 32.5. Quick, short passes, I'm assuming. Nailed it, Vic. Nailed it right there. That's the angle that you're coming into with this football game. Because if I'm just going to look at, I have a service up that tells me at many different outlets what the numbers are. But the ease of getting through numbers, it's easier just to go to like FanDuel and just, rip through it. The passing props in this game, Patrick Mahomes, 224.5. CJ Stroud, 228.5. Legitimate numbers and a total, again, that we're looking in the low 40s. But from a Patrick Mahomes number, touchdown passes over 1.5 for Mahomes, minus 106. CJ Stroud, by the way, over 1.5 touchdowns. That's plus 175. That's crazy. But then again, you look at his numbers on the season, he doesn't throw multiple touchdowns a lot, it feels like. But pass completions is one I want to have my eye on. FanDuel doesn't have anything up for Patrick Mahomes, just CJ Stroud at 21.5. But if I do go and check around some other books like Bet365, Patrick Mahomes over 20.5 completions, because you might be thinking out there like he's got a hobbled ankle. They're not going to throw passes. But I disagree with that. I'm not saying Andy Reid's going to be like, hey, well, he faked an injury and he's going to throw it 50 times in this game if we need him to. I'm not saying that. But keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes might go down as the best quarterback in history. You have a season now that you're looking to get the number one overall seed, which would give your team extra rest once you got to the playoffs, because that's what you get as the top seed. The only one bye per league, or per conference, NFC, AFC. If you can make it to the end of the season and get the number one seed, you earned your right to rest, and you should be fine and ready for the playoffs. But you also know that you can't just sit him back there in the pocket, because as I talked about before the break, Patrick Mahomes is not the best runner in the NFL. He has the ability to take off and run. We've seen him call him a big game runner, right? Hey, need that 15 yards? I'll run for it here. If I need to go down the sideline and toe tap for an extra 6 yards, knowing that you're not allowed to hit me, I'll do that as well. But those plays that he makes from the pocket, you say, my goodness, had he stopped this offense? That's not going to happen. It's colder temperatures. It's two good defensive ends. If these defensive ends start getting home, Patrick Mahomes will do what so many older quarterbacks typically do. They sack themselves. Pockets collapsing. I don't want to take a hit. I can't have people trample my ankle. Let me just go down. That's what I'm interested in. But if you do see Bet365 at 20.5 completions, I don't think that's out of the realm. Because again, as Vic in the chat box is saying, and he's right with this, these are rocket screens. These are plays that are going to be designed to say 1, 2, 3-step drop, get the football out. These are plays where Patrick Mahomes is going to be in the shotgun and not having to move all that much. One thing what you want to do, too, is if you're not playing this game early, which means tonight, or let's just say, 11 a.m. tomorrow. I always like to see, because you'll see some of the practice reports come out. There was video on Patrick Mahomes. He's not moving all that much. But I haven't seen video where it's like when he runs, it looks like he has a cinder block on his ankle, right? But you'll get more of those reports coming tomorrow. An extra day of rest is going to be taped up heavily. So you're going to be looking at him early on in the pregame reports and getting some of those videos like, hey, you know what? He looks like he can be serviceable, because he can be in shotgun and not even move off of his axis and throw a pass. He's got an unbelievable arm. He doesn't have to gather his whole body to throw a football 15 to 20 yards down the field. So even though you see that 20 and a half completions, I think there's a chance he does that, which brings us to our next topic, is the receiving props here for the Kansas City Chiefs and what that means. Travis Kelce, 50 and a half receiving yards listed at FanDuel. DeAndre Hopkins, 37 and a half. Xavier Worthy, 40 and a half. Noah Gray, 22 and a half. And Isaiah Pacheco, 8 and a half. So if I go back and just take a look at, some of these double tight end sets, let's just say in 12 personnel, those two tight ends would be Noah Gray and Kelce. So Travis Kelce, is probably going to be a target monster in this game, to be honest. And it makes sense because, as I said, the goal is not for Mahomes to take a 7-step drop, buy some time in the pocket, and rip 150 yards downfield. It's just not that. So if you're taking that backup role with Gray, he's at 22 and a half. And this is just understanding the game of football and how things work, because sometimes you'll put in your own mindset of what you think the game plan will be like. I didn't see that coming. And that happens because we don't sit in the room. We're not in those final meetings late in the week when the plays are actually dialed up and scripted and away you go. But just my thought process on, if we're looking to bet tight ends, Kansas City's probably a pretty good look this weekend. And again, if you're trying to I don't want to say outsmart yourself, could it be Noah Gray just taking extra snaps because they need a 2 tight end set out there? It's interesting thoughts. It's the way you get through it. Talk yourself through some of these bets, people. That's usually the best way to do it. An awesome weekend of football. It's just beginning on Moneyline. It's your boy DRS, and I'll be back after this short break.
You're listening to your source of sports gaming strategies and information.
We call it the winning edge.
It helps make the odds even.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Saturday afternoon, big matchup for the Chiefs when they host the Texans. Kansas City's 13-1 overall, 7-0 at home. The Texans are 9-5 this season, 4-3 away from home. It's a 1 Eastern, noon Central kickoff at Arrowhead. The Chiefs have already clinched the AFC West. Houston's riding a 2-game winning streak and has already wrapped up the AFC South. Patrick Mahomes was a full participant at Wednesday's practice. The Chiefs quarterback suffered a high ankle sprain last Sunday.
The work that we've gotten in, obviously it's a short amount of time, but I thought we had a good day.
On the schedule tonight in Los Angeles, the 8-6 Chargers host the 9-5 Broncos. Denver riding a 4-game winning streak. They're second in the AFC West. The Chargers have lost 2 straight and sit third in the division. Wednesday bowl games, UNLV beat Cal 24-13 at the LA Bowl. Boca Raton Bowl, James Madison 27-17 over Western Kentucky. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
I love spreading joy with gifts this time of year, but I try not to spread my budget too thin. Luckily, Kohl's has come through for me once again. I just went and used a 25% off coupon to score so many great gifts under $20, like cozy pajamas and fleece, amazing gift sets, and beauty must-haves. So if you're looking to give more for less this season, get to Kohl's. Select styles. Offers end December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Flo here from Progressive to tell you how you get more than great savings with us. You get customer service access through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
That's a lot of ways I can get in touch with you. I see what's going on here. You can't name favorites, but I'm your #1 customer.
Actually, we offer all our customers these ways to contact us.
I'm sure you give just any customer your personal
company
contact info.
Well, you did call us more than any other customer this year. So in that sense, you are our #1 customer.
Get help from Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Be the master of your domain.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app so now you can get the winning edge while your wife is in a dressing room trying on stuff while you wait patiently on the uncomfortable chair. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Walking and talking our way through this Chiefs-Texans game, which is so interesting tomorrow. Just seeing that, 2 tight end sets I think the Chiefs might use more of tomorrow. You get Hollywood Brown back into the fold. By the way, I don't think he has any, just check. Because FanDuel doesn't have him listed with any numbers. Let's go to receiving yards for tomorrow and see if he's listed anywhere. Xavier Worthy, he's not. I don't have him up yet. Maybe they add him overnight, but you're really going to get hot right away with Hollywood Brown coming back to the football team? Look, People are going to be invested, and his number's probably going to be low, and he's there for deep shots. But again, is the deep shots the sort of offense you want for the Kansas City Chiefs or not? That's what we're going to have to determine. Like their offensive line, just don't like their tackles. But Joe Thuney kicking out the left tackle, as it looks like, anticipated, that might be interesting. But the weapons are coming back here for Patrick Mahomes, even if he's a little bit dinged up. Talked about the tight ends, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins. You still have Xavier Worthy. Catches, too, if you're looking at from that end of it. Kelsey's 5.5 plus 122. 6 catches does seem doable. DeAndre Hopkins always seems great, though. He's always listed low, too. 3.5 catches, minus 132, so 4 catches gets that. Xavier Worthy, 1 catch, actually the same catches, just a little bit less juice, over 3.5 at a minus 102. Noah Gray, 2.5 catches, minus 120. But how about the focus also? Because it's not a one-sided game, but I think more of the intrigue, we can agree, comes from the Kansas City Chiefs. So if we line up with the Texans here, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, which I like their defense. They're not as good as they were last year at corner and safety per se, but they still make enough plays. That defensive line really gets after it. They can do some damage. Decent offensive line, to say the least, here for the Texans. Nico Collins, Mechie III, Dalton Schultz, and Tank Dell at wide receiver. Stroud and Mixon in the backfield as usual. I don't have as good a feel for them. So if we're taking a look at, let's just say, receiving props on yardage, Nico Collins is 86.5. You're never getting a bargain there. But if you expect them to be losing the football game, passing late, that's one way to play it. Keep in mind also, dome team in Houston, going outdoors, colder temperatures, and clinching their division last week. Motivation is going to be there because I know a lot of people will bring that up, and it's right to bring it up. Hey, what are you going to get out of the Texans? Because they're not fighting for the top overall seed in the AFC. They know they're going to get a home game. They won their division, but I think we're too early in the season, even though it is late technically, week 16, where they're not going to shut it down yet. They might shut it down in week 18, but not in week 16. It's a big game, national television, where you might want to say, like, you know what? We might see you again in the playoffs. Let's throw a shot across the bow, knock you off in your own building, and send you into a little bit of turmoil. Mixon should get a handful of the carries, but I think the intrigue for me, once again, is just going up against what Kansas City is going to do offensively in this football game overall. Rushing props in this one, Mixon, 61.5, not bad. Isaiah Pacheco, 52.5, Kareem Hunt, 28.5. I think there are valid numbers that you can probably get through because the Chiefs will be focused on the running game once they lead, so Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to do a ton from the pocket. But once again, are we playing, coy? Is it a game of chicken for Kansas City? Is Patrick Mahomes really as healthy as we think he is? Is he hobbling around? And also, there's no worse thing to do betting Patrick Mahomes in this game if he can re-injure that high ankle sprain early on and then completely be ineffective while still trying to muscle his way through. So a lot of things on the Chiefs. We're thinking about a lot this afternoon to go to, but I'm very intrigued by the 2 tight end sets for Kansas City and also some Patrick Mahomes completion props coupled with wide receiver completion props and yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get to game number 2 on Saturday, which looks like it is going to be a fantastic game. The Baltimore Ravens, however, though, favored by 6.5 points and a total of 44.5. Again, we went over the game conditions. Cooler temperatures, light winds, no precipitation, should be a clean game. Now, if we are looking at the injury situation, maybe the best pass rusher in the NFL, TJ Watt, saying, you know what? I'm active. I'm going to give it a go, but he's not 100%. And if you're going to chase down Lamar Jackson, you better be 100%. But that defensive line is spectacular. Spectacular. So when you look at Highsmith on the outside, Benton, Hayward, Watt could be able to keep up. And this is, the guy must have like rabbit ears out here because when we start talking about Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, we need to get a Steelers aspect in here because there's big football games played from a Pennsylvania perspective this weekend, and we're not even talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So Dave Sharapan joins us because why? The Penn State Nittany Lions got a monster game, and maybe you could say, Dave, even a bigger game in the state of PA is that Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens game, Dave. What's good, man? What's good?
What is up, Donnie? Right side on a Friday?
Now look at the gear you got. Now look at the gear that you got there. Did it swing you over in the Keystone? You moving back to the East Coast, east side of PA? Looks like it.
Gotta go see my boy, see what's up on a Friday.
Yeah.
Said I better dress up, better wear the green. Listen.
Yeah.
Guys, Steelers butts. I mean, the second half was one-sided. Steelers couldn't even touch the ball. It felt like, when you do a show with K-Dub, they just, you touch the ball the whole time. You get a couple plays, And if you
Nothing.
don't produce, you're out. That's it.
Exactly.
Just the same type of game. But man, what a big game this is tomorrow. And they ain't even sold out. We could have gone for nothing. I mean, we get in
How
that
about
building
that?
cheap up there in State
How about
College.
that?
I mean, they're
How about
making it
that?
like it's not even a Penn State game.
Yeah, but here, you know what? Let me start there because you know me, Dave. My favorite thing about the college football playoff when they started talking about it was, and I told you weekly, Dave, Penn State at home in a playoff game. Can't get any better. So now I like to go down the rabbit hole during the week, and I'm seeing like Penn State fans upset by going like, our big advantage, and we'll get to James Franklin in a second, but really like home field advantage is Penn State might have the best student section in the entire country. Drives the stadium, loud at all get out, whiteouts, you name it, they're there week in and week out. And now I'm seeing stuff like, Dave, the NCAA is like, oh, we're going to control the tickets and we can make more money because the student tickets are obviously at a discount because they're students and you can't charge them $250 to go to a game. And they go, ooh, we can make more money. Let's condense the student section. Like I had no idea the NCAA was going to handle tickets at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not, you can't even like play the music that you normally play.
Is that true? Is that true? Or is it NCAA like you go to an Elite Eight game and it's like just what's the word I'm looking for here?
Homogenized. It's homogenized.
Correct.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. We're playing at Penn State, but we're not playing like we're playing at Penn State. So it's in the building and it looks like it, but it doesn't sound like it. It's going to feel like it because who's going up from SMU? I mean, let's be real, right? It's not going to make a travel because the next game is December 31st in Arizona, where you've been for the Super Bowl, where I've been. I used to live there. We got people, Donnie, and I already ran it by the higher-ups. If you want to come out, spend New Year's Eve down in the desert and go to the Penn State game, if they win against Boise State as a big favorite, we get those Broncos. First it's Mustangs, then it's Broncos. The Nittany Lions are just riding the horses all the way to the semifinal, Donnie. I mean, Moneyline. The show's called Moneyline.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the spread, Donald. I'm telling you, I'm a little worried about the spread.
Those boys aren't ready for the cold weather, Dave. Come on now. Penn State, you eat this. You eat outside with no shirt on in this weather, Penn State. Come on.
But have you seen the Penn State first half, Donnie? They have not been good all season. I think of the Bowling Green game. I thought of the USC game.
Yes.
I thought of a couple other games where I'm like, oh, no, this is it. This is it. We're going to lose. This is the first half. Then they make adjustments, which is not normally like a Franklin-led Penn State team. But, man, I can't wait for tomorrow. You'd think it would be a night out, a white out. No, they're doing a scarlet out in Columbus in the shoe. They got the night game? Come on, Donnie.
I'm telling you, though, it's you work hard to get that home game. It should be yours. All your fans should be there. You shouldn't have to worry about where your tickets are coming from. Like a Steelers playoff game. You head into the fourth quarter and like, the NFL took control, no Renegade. Like even when the Steelers go to the Super Bowl, they still play Renegade because they let it's like 50-50 where it's like home field. Yes, you still get some advantages. I can't believe they're doing this. And that it doesn't ruin it for me per se, but come on, man. You work hard to get home field advantage. Dave and Donnie will be right back after the break.
Loser is kind of a mean-spirited slur.
But it doesn't have to stick.
Tell them to listen to SportsGrid and fix it.
No, thank you. Later.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. Shop Chuck Sanders. College football bowl action Wednesday night. Number 24 UNLV beat the Cal Golden Bears 24-13 at the LA Bowl. In the Boca Raton Bowl, James Madison beat Western Kentucky 27-17. Saturday afternoon, big matchup for the Chiefs when they host the Texans. Kansas City's 13-1 overall, 7-0 at home. The Texans are 9-5 this season, 4-3 away from home. It's a 1 Eastern, noon Central kickoff at Arrowhead. The Chiefs have already clinched the AFC West. Houston's riding a 2-game winning streak and has already wrapped up the AFC South. Patrick Mahomes was a full participant at Wednesday's practice. The Chiefs quarterback suffered a high ankle sprain last Sunday.
The work that we've gotten in, I mean, obviously it's a short amount of time, but I thought we had a good day.
On the schedule tonight in Los Angeles, the 8-6 Chargers host the 9-5 Broncos. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
I love spreading joy with gifts this time of year, but I try not to spread my budget too thin. Luckily, Kohl's has come through for me once again. I just went and used a 25% off coupon to score so many great gifts under $20, like cozy pajamas and fleece, amazing gift sets, and beauty must-haves. So if you're looking to give more for less this season, get to Kohl's. Select styles, offers end December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single-line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
If SportsGrid was a burrito, we'd be the one with steak and carnitas packed so full every bite made your cheeks poof out like Dizzy Gillespie, so the name stuck and now even your mother calls you Dizzy. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Playoff football at Penn State, playoff football at Notre Dame. The horseshoe's going to be rocking. So many good things to look forward to this weekend. Darrell K. Royal Stadium going to be rocking down in Austin. We haven't seen this before, the expanded playoff. It's going to be fun. And the NFL also going, you know what? Let's help the college football people out if they get a little bit bored and throw 2 bangers on in the middle of Saturday, Dave, which does include that Ravens-Steelers game, which I want to ask you this question about the Steelers because I like the complete makeup of the football team. But you saw last week, like the Eagles are an elite defense, and the Steelers struggled. It's not a surprise. Teams struggle against really good defenses, specifically when you're down without your best pass catcher. Do you ever see the Eagles without A.J. Brown? Boy, can they move the football. George Pickens adds to it. The way you beat the Ravens, Dave, is, you know what? We'll mix in and we'll be physical, but we better be able to get downfield. No George Pickens tomorrow, which is so tough to look at, which actually, Dave, I don't think the Steelers win tomorrow. And that doesn't mean that, you're down on the Steelers for the rest of the way. The Steelers brand of football wins in the playoffs. A veteran quarterback that's won a Super Bowl, that can play at an MVP level, and quite frankly, has played very well. You have all your defense healthy, all your offensive capabilities healthy. They can win. Dave, I don't know if they win tomorrow, though, without George Pickens. I think they struggle a bit on offense again.
I don't think they win either. I was more encouraged that they could win in Philadelphia. And then as the second half went on, it was evident they weren't going to win the game. Then it was like, all right, maybe they'll cover.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to Baltimore to win. The situation just doesn't feel like, unless Lamar has another one of those games that he's had against the Steelers now multiple times. He has a bad game. It turns the ball over a couple times. It keeps the Steelers in it. But you're right. The Steelers' offense is not the same without Pickens, and he ain't playing. I mean, he's out. TJ Watt's dinged up. They got a game Saturday, and then they play on Wednesday, on Christmas Day, at home against the Chiefs. And I've gone on record saying they're going to beat the Chiefs,
they beat the Chiefs
on Christmas.
Yeah, put that down for me, too.
But I don't think they're beating the Ravens Saturday. I don't like it. I wouldn't even take the points. I feel like this is going to fall like 27-20, somewhere in that situation, unless, like I said, unless the Steelers get a punt return, a defensive scoop and score, something like that. A free kick, maybe? I mean, were you awake? Tell the truth. Did you see the free kick this morning?
Oh, we were live.
Did you see it last night?
Yeah, we were live on set last night, which I love because you know what I loved about it even more, Dave? Yeah, you know what I loved even more about that? Neither team understood what was actually going to happen. So they had to call a timeout and bring like the refs over to explain it to both teams exactly what's going to take place because we never see something like that before. And I love the way it worked out and the field goal was made. That's one of those rules in football. It's like, who thought of that and why we never see it? And then you bring it out once every 30 years at this point. Loved it.
I think one guy on the field actually knew it in his head. It was Jim Harbaugh. And it was awesome. And he was like, after the game, he said, that's my favorite rule in football. I have been waiting for that for 20 years. Like, what are you talking about? This is great. It reminded me of the longest yard. Remember when they did the drop kick? And he went over and said, what is that? A drop kick. How much is that worth? 3 points. great points. He threw his helmet. He went nuts. It was like, what is this? That was great. So it's fun still to watch sports and see something that you don't normally see. Going back and circling it back to the Ravens and the Steelers, we've seen it for 20 years. The line on this game has been 3. Either way.
Yes.
Odds makers a little bit ahead of this one, Donnie. A little bit ahead of this one. Saying, you know what? It's 6. We put up 7 at the beginning of the week. All the bots and the bad guys and the rhombuses and the parallelograms grabbed every 7 they could get at the beginning of the week when the limits were low. If they go back to 7, they're going to come in with the Brinks trucks and do it again. Doesn't mean it's right. Say it all the time. I don't know where the pros are going. The pros have had a rough season in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, you telling me on some of these sides, like even last night, I'm looking at that. And again, I didn't bet it, but like all those, like, you know what? This game screams to an under. Like, I think this game's going under tonight. And they shoot it out on a short week there on the road. Unbelievable. Like, you right away in the game, they get the 3 and out. Like, going to play right down slow. No big plays in this game. They go up and down the left and right in that game last night, which was crazy to think about. But let's talk a little bit about the college football playoff, which we are going to see tonight. And the first game is going to begin there in Indiana versus Notre Dame. Lightning rod type situation. Not so much for Notre Dame, because I actually thought they were done. When they lost to NIU, I said that's worth like 5 losses. They will never appear in the college football playoff because they lost to NIU at home. And here they are playing some of the best football in the country. But on the same side, like Indiana they didn't schedule it this way, but sometimes it just happens. You didn't really play anybody on the schedule except Ohio State. You didn't look that good against Ohio State. How do we factor in Indiana in this game? And also, as an odds maker yourself, they open up with over the touchdown. Now it's below a touchdown here. How do you figure these games in where we haven't seen this type of, hey, draw me up, Dave, the last time a home team played in the college football playoff? We never saw it before.
Yeah, it's fun. It's one of those situations that is new and different, but then you go back to what you know. And you put up a key number, put up 7, 7.5, see where the numbers and the bets lead you. I mean, it did it in 3 of the games, Indiana, Notre Dame being the first one, and it stayed. Two-way action is good enough. The Penn State game, around the same number, but it went up. The Tennessee, Ohio State game, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 7. You sit and take bets. It's great. How do you factor Indiana? I think, at least for bettors, anyone listen to the show, I think you'll know relatively early. Where they don't score or have success early, you better get on the Irish side. You know, they're going to probably impose will, physically, bigger, stronger guys. It's football, Donnie. You've seen it. You played it. You know. When you can impose your will on the other team, you'll continue to do so. Notre Dame may not be flashy, but they will run the ball and they will score against Indiana. I feel like the game's got to go over unless there's gale force winds or something going on. I think both teams are going to score because that's the only way Indiana can win. Donnie, can Indiana win? Can they represent and start off the weekend for the Big Ten? I think they can.
You never know. I mean, they've been game planning for a while for this moment here, and it's colder temperatures there, and you've seen Notre Dame get beat by a MAC team at home this year. They're not coming in scared. I think the public is starting to come around to it. Hey, over a touchdown? That's too high at this point here. I'm going to grab Dave for one more second because I need to get in the risk room to understand how a Patrick Mahomes injury figures out. We'll be right back. It's Moneyline on a Football Friday.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
It's a choice.
Roll the dice
Or listen to us. Luck is finding a good parking spot. Strategy is getting the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime, on the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. SportsGrid Radio presents Gridiron Greats.
Running back Walter Payton set the then NFL rushing title in 1984, passing Jim Brown. Sweetness was a rare combination of power, speed, and agility. In 1999, Payton lost his life at the age of 45. Former teammate Dan Jiggins.
He was, at all stops along the way, the most ferocious competitor that I've ever seen.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Grady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Is there anyone more Madame Tussauds than Antonio Pierce? My man is like a wax doll, standing on the sidelines, staring into the abyss of his crappy coaching career in the NFL. He's no more of an NFL coach than I am. He is terrible. I'm not wrong. I will argue until I'm blue in the face.
It's Pharrell, Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On the home of the winning edge, the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to the voice of authority.
Sports gaming strategies and information on daily sporting events.
In other words,
information you can take to the bank. We are your trusted source for gaming, odds, and more. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
That's why we need a man in the room right now. Stoney writes that it's Dave Sharapan. I need to get in the mind of this because I am so interested in stuff like this. We saw Patrick Mahomes, because I'm going to include our good friend Ben Scott Stevens in this as well, because I think he was right.
Yes.
He watched the Kansas City game last week, saw the Patrick Mahomes injury, right? Goes down, it's a high ankle sprain. It's an immediate thing to say, this is week to week, Dave, not day to day. Like when coach say day to day, you can play the next week. Like, ooh, he's probably going to be injured. They're going to play 2 games in like 7 days here. I'm going to go against the Kansas City Chiefs and take the Buffalo Bills to get the number 1 overall seed. And I think he did it right, and he was explaining it. Well, that number dropped like the number 1 seed, Dave, like minus 150, minus 160. And then it went to 190. Then it went to 2-1. And then it's like even higher now. So how do you handle this when you're in the risk room and you know numbers are up and you see Mahomes go down injured? Because to me, I looked at it like, I understand Mahomes has had high ankle sprains before, but it's still a high ankle sprain. Like, you're not supposed to fight through it on a short work week and be just fine. You saw the 2.5-point favorite for Houston now flip back over. How do you handle that in the room? Do you immediately say, we got to take it off the board, sit this one out? Or do you just play with that fire and say, no, we probably think he's going to be out. Here's what the first setting of numbers is going to be.
New school, old school. Mm-hmm. We never took a number down. We just adjusted it on the fly. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times while the games are being played, all the numbers are down. You assess, you see, then you put the numbers up and you take the bets. Take a hit, move a number. Take a hit, move a number, and go from there. Mm-hmm. Other times, new school guys take it all down. We don't know. We'll adjust. We'll go from here. I saw the high ankle sprain, too, and thought the same thing. Maybe it's time to go bet someone else to be the number 1 seed. That's a very interesting bet. We didn't have it out here in Vegas. But what it did was change the opening number for Houston at Kansas City. And odds makers went, if Mahomes ain't playing, despite the fact that your love for guys like Carson Wentz from Eagles fans that have passed, Eagles fans, never forget they got him that championship. He was a big part of that year, that team. Yep. Carson Wentz is a lot less points value-wise than Patrick Mahomes. So it opens up Houston minus 1.5, minus 2, and they lay it. They go, oh, Houston's going in there and winning. And then the bets start to come. Whoa, we're taking KC. Line it up to 3. Get it off to 2.5. Move it back to 2. Whoa, they took 2. Hold on. Down to 1. Flip it. Kansas City. This guy must be playing. Dr. Donnie Rightside said it's a high ankle sprain. Dr. Donnie don't have a medical degree. Dr. Donnie knows. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid talked and said, Patrick, can you play? Damn right I can play. We win this game. We're getting that number 1 seed. And then I ain't got to play for 2 weeks. Maybe 3. I could stay at home for Christmas if we win this game on Sunday. Yeah. Saturday at home.
Yep. No, it's
3.5 and 4. Donnie, if you catch the wise guys laying 2 with Houston and now laying 3.5 with Kansas City, you've created a middle for the book, which is fun.
Exactly. And even like when Ben was talking about it, I said, no, like that's like handicappers lose a lot. Like when we talk about, hey, just win 53%, you're world class. The common time says, wait a second. I thought you guys were supposed to hit like 70, 80, 90%. Like, isn't that what you do, what your job is? But like being proactive is what makes a good handicapper, where you see that information in the moment, try to compute it in your head and be like, oh no, he might be out 2-3 weeks. Now I might get a better number on this. And then it doesn't go against you. It doesn't mean it was wrong because the bet lost, because more times than not, if you're thinking with that edge, you're going to get the better numbers on the book by jumping on it quicker. And old school, Dave, like we didn't have any, like, let me log into my computer and get it. Like, no, you had to get in your car in Las Vegas and drive down to the book. And by the time you got there, the bookmaker's like, brother, we saw that an hour ago. That line is no longer there at this point.
Right. What are you doing? Yes. You've ridden in the car with me, Donnie. I'm a very good driver.
Yes, you are a very good driver.
You had to ride around. You had to just go get the pieces in here and get a piece of this here. And now with the apps and stuff where you're at, New Jersey and PA and all this other stuff, you can log in, different accounts. The books know all this. They're moving the number, taking bets. I mean, I don't know, Donnie. You ever seen a bigger lay down this week than Kansas City? Kansas City's beating Houston this week, and they're covering pretty much every number.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. This guy, Budweiser Sports, comes in our chats. He comes in and watches our shows all over SportsGrid. His name's Bud Weiser. He said, you got to talk about football and you got to talk about picks. There's your pick, Donnie. Kansas City's winning on Saturday. You need one?
I'm with it. Like, you sit that game and you go like, ooh, you better get the running game going down. And we see how sometimes it plays out, Dave. Wait a second. You tell me Patrick Mahomes on a bad ankle was 31 or 37 for 302 and 4 scores. It's like, you know what? I just give up at this point. Sometimes the easiest path is the hardest path, Dave, that we found out here. And that's Dave Sherapan on a Friday afternoon on the East Coast, getting the people ready for this weekend's action. You know the big things he does right here on the SportsGrid Network. Make sure you stay tuned for Chris Behind the Wheels of Steel, Donnie Right Side on a Football Friday. What a weekend we have. But you know what? Moneyline, back on Monday here, Dave. Oh, we're flying all over the place. We're flying out of here, people.
Victory.
Everywhere. You can get SportsGrid on the radio, TV, the internet.
We got your number, Sporto.
That shirt doesn't match. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.